saw myself running again last night, but the footage didn't match. The camera showed me taking the same route, the same cold road through the snow, only I wasn't alone this time. Something moved behind me. Too close, too quiet. Welcome everyone, thank you for listening. Let me know where you're tuning in from to support the channel. I live just outside a small town called Coldwater Ridge, a place where silence feels heavier than the snow itself. I moved here 6 months ago. Needed quiet, needed distance. Running helps me think, or forget. Every morning before sunrise, I take the same trail through the pines. Same frozen air biting at my lungs. Same sound of snow underfoot. But lately, I've started noticing things that don't make sense. My camera. It's an old GoPro I use to track progress. Sometimes it catches more than I remember. Last week, while reviewing footage, I noticed movement behind the trees. Just for a second, a shape, following. At first I thought it was light distortion. Snow reflection maybe. But then, the next day, it happened again. Same place, same time, same figure. I slowed the footage, frame by frame, until I saw it clearly. Someone running, right behind me, but their steps didn't make sound. Their breath didn't fog the air. When I looked back in real life, nothing. Just trees and silence. I started sleeping less, thinking maybe I was overtraining, or imagining things. But then 2 nights ago, I woke to the sound of footsteps outside my cabin. Soft, measured, crunching through snow. I didn't move, just listened. The sound circled the house once, paused near my window. Then a whisper, so close I could feel it through the glass. "You shouldn't have left." I froze, heart pounding, couldn't even breathe. When I finally looked outside, nothing but my own footprints leading from the woods to the door, and the camera light still blinking. Recording. I pressed play. The screen flickered, and I saw myself sleeping. But the window behind me was open. The next morning, I went for my usual run, pretending nothing happened. The air was sharp, the snow untouched, but something about the silence felt wrong. Even the birds weren't singing. I passed the bend near the frozen creek, the one where the trees grow too close together, where the sun never really reaches. That's where I saw it. A second set of footprints beside mine, fresher, smaller, as if someone had followed right behind me. I stopped recording for a few days after that. Couldn't bring myself to watch anymore, but the nights kept getting louder. Sometimes I'd hear breathing through the walls, or faint tapping under the floorboards, like someone trying to find their way out. If you've ever felt something watching you in the dark, this story might feel familiar. I told myself it was the wind, the pipes, the kind of tricks an empty cabin plays on tired minds. But the camera didn't lie. When I finally checked the new footage, it showed me again, sleeping. The same window slightly open, only this time, someone was standing behind the glass, still, silent, face pale against the night. I paused the frame, zoomed in, and froze. It wasn't a stranger. It was me, or someone who looked exactly like me. Same build, same jacket, same scar above the brow, but his eyes were wrong. Too dark, too still. I remember whispering out loud, "That's not possible." The power went out then, screen black, everything silent again. The next morning, the snow outside was disturbed. A circle of footprints around the house, ending beneath my window. I didn't leave them. I swear I didn't. That night I packed a bag, drove into town. The sheriff listened politely, but when I showed him the video, he frowned and pushed the laptop away. He said the timestamp was from 3 years ago. 3 years. But I'd recorded it last week. He looked at me for a long time, then said quietly, "Maybe you should get some rest." I drove back to the cabin that evening, the snow starting to fall again. When I opened the door, my footprints from the morning were gone, but someone else's were leading inside. I didn't sleep that night. Couldn't. Every creak in the cabin felt alive. Every gust of wind carried a breath that wasn't mine. The footprints outside stayed there till morning, frozen clean in the snow, too perfect to be natural. I thought about leaving, packing the car and driving until the trees disappeared behind me. But something kept me here. That strange pull again, like the road itself wanted me to stay. When dawn came, I grabbed the camera and started running again. The same trail through the woods. Snow fell heavier that day, made the forest sound muted, like the world was holding its breath. At the halfway point, where the trees split around the old fence, I saw it. The cabin, not mine, a smaller one, older, half buried in ice and time. I'd never noticed it before, and yet it felt familiar. I walked closer, each step sinking deeper into the snow, my breath fogging the lens. The door hung slightly open, and inside, darkness. It smelled like dust and cold wood, and something else, something old. I turned on the camera light, swept it across the floor. Empty, then I saw the wall. Scratches. Hundreds of them, like someone had been counting the days. Next to them, a small handprint in faded red paint. Or maybe not paint. I froze, the beam of light shaking in my hands. A soft sound came from deeper inside, like someone whispering through cloth. I whispered back before I could stop myself. "Hello?" The whisper stopped. Then footsteps. Slow, careful. They moved toward me. I ran out the door, through the trees. Didn't stop till I saw my own cabin again. When I checked the footage later, the sound was different. Clearer. A voice. A child's voice. It said, "Daniel?" That's my name. But I never said it in the video. I replayed the clip again and again. The voice always the same. Soft, familiar, like it had been waiting to say it. That night I dreamed of the lake again, frozen solid under the moonlight, and a small figure standing on the ice, waving at me before it cracked beneath him. When I woke up, my hands were wet and smelled like lake water. I woke up before sunrise, the world outside still gray, silent. For a long moment, I just sat there on the edge of the bed, listening. No wind, no birds, no sound at all. The kind of silence that presses against your skin, like the air itself is waiting. I checked my phone. No signal. Again. The generator had died sometime in the night, but the camera light was still on, pointed directly at the door. That's when I noticed it. The door wasn't fully closed. I could see the faintest line of white. Snow, blown in from the outside. I walked over slowly, bare feet on cold wood, and pushed it shut. Something on the floor caught my eye. A single footprint, wet, smaller than mine. And next to it, a small carving in the wood. A circle with a line through it. I don't remember carving that. I told myself it was from before. From the last owner, maybe. But the wood was freshly cut. The smell of pine still strong. That's when the clock started ticking again. I hadn't heard it in weeks. I thought it was broken, but now it ticked loud, steady, like a heartbeat I couldn't escape. Tick, tick, tick. I followed the sound into the living room, and there it was. The old wall clock swinging gently, back and forth, and behind it, scratched into the wall, the same circle and line, dozens of them, some small, some large, layered over each other like years of repetition. I felt dizzy, had to hold on to the chair. The house seemed to breathe, boards shifting underfoot, walls creaking as if exhaling. I whispered, "Who's here?" Nothing. Then, a thud from the attic. Soft, but real. I stared up at the ceiling, and the clock stopped ticking. Silence again, thicker this time. I climbed the ladder slowly, every step groaning under my weight, the air colder the higher I went. At the top, I pushed the hatch open and saw nothing, just boxes, dust, and an old mirror leaning against the wall. But something about the reflection was wrong. I stood perfectly still, yet the reflection's breath fogged the glass, and mine didn't. I stepped closer, watching it move, a fraction too late. It smiled, just slightly, barely there. I stumbled back down the ladder, heart pounding, hand bleeding from a splinter I didn't feel until later. I locked every door that night, shut every window, but the mirror, I didn't touch it. I couldn't. It stayed up there, watching from the attic. And sometimes, when the wind dies down, I can hear the faintest sound above me, the soft drag of fingers across glass. I tried to convince myself I was just tired, that the mirror hadn't really moved. But something inside me knew better. The next morning, the footprints outside were gone again, like the snow had swallowed them whole. I made coffee, sat by the window, watched the trees sway under the wind. For a while, it almost felt normal, until I saw the reflection. Not in the window this time. In the kettle, its surface trembling with heat. A faint outline behind me, standing in the doorway. I turned around fast. No one there. The air felt thick, like the cabin was breathing with me, matching every inhale, every exhale. I left the camera recording that day, pointed at the door again, and went for a drive into town. The snow was heavier than usual, the road nearly invisible in parts. Halfway down the hill, I passed a man walking on the shoulder, no coat, just dark clothes, head down. I slowed down, rolled down the window a bit. "Hey, you okay?" He didn't answer, didn't even look up, just kept walking, barefoot. By the time I turned the car around, he was gone. No tracks in the snow. I drove the rest of the way in silence, hands shaking on the wheel. In town, the streets were quiet, almost empty. At the diner, the waitress recognized me right away. "You're staying up near Alder Creek, right?" I nodded. She hesitated, then said softly, "You know they found someone up there once. Same area. Disappeared in winter." I asked when. She said, 3 years ago. The same year the sheriff said my video was from. My stomach dropped. When I got back to the cabin that evening, the front door was open. Just a few inches. Snow drifted in across the floorboards, like someone had been standing there, watching. I called out, "Hello?" The echo came back softer, warmer somehow, like the house was whispering my name. "Daniel." I froze. The voice didn't come from the hallway. It came from upstairs. I climbed the steps slowly, each one creaking under my weight. The attic hatch was still closed, but I could hear it again, that faint drag of fingers across glass. I whispered, "What do you want?" And something whispered back, "Remember." That's all it said. Just that one word, then silence again. I opened the hatch, shined the flashlight around. The mirror was there, same as before. But now, something was written in the dust on its surface. A date, January 12th. The same day I arrived at the cabin. Except, the year was different. It said 2022, 3 years ago. I wiped the surface clean, my reflection staring back at me. And for just a second, it smiled again. That night, I didn't turn off the lights. I sat in the armchair facing the stairs, camera running, coffee gone cold beside me. The mirror upstairs seemed to hum through the floor, like something alive behind the glass, Every hour or so, I'd hear the faintest movement. Not footsteps, just weight shifting in silence. Around midnight, the generator died again. The cabin went black, except for the red light of the camera. Blinking steady, I waited, listening, counting each blink to calm myself. Then, a whisper. Close. Too close. Right behind me. I turned fast. Nothing there. The door still locked. Windows closed tight. But the chair cushion was warm, like someone had just been sitting there. I told myself to breathe, to hold on until morning. But around 3 a.m., the red light on the camera stopped blinking, then flashed twice. That's never happened before. I replayed the footage on the screen, the image flickering, static cutting through the audio. At first it showed me, sitting in the chair, head lowered, completely still. Then, after a few minutes, someone walked past. The lens, just a blur. But the outline was clear. It was me. I watched the figure walk upstairs, heard the attic hatch creak open. Then, silence. The footage ended there, cut clean. But the clock on the wall said 3:12 a.m., and I hadn't moved. I checked the attic again that morning. Sunlight sharp through the gaps in the roof. The mirror was gone. Only the outline remained. A pale rectangle in the dust where it had been. I searched every corner, under boxes, behind beams. Nothing. Then I noticed the floorboards, a section slightly raised, like something had been hidden underneath. I pried it open, wood splintering in my hands. Inside was a small, cracked frame with an old photograph inside. A man standing by a frozen lake, smiling faintly at the camera. He looked exactly like me. Same scar above the brow, same tired eyes. But the photo was dated January 12th, 2022. The same date, the same year written on the mirror. I felt something shift inside me then, like a door unlocking in my chest. And in that moment, I heard it again, the whisper from right beside me. Daniel. I turned toward the voice and saw the faint reflection of glass leaning against the far wall. Just enough light to see my own face staring back. But it wasn't copying me anymore. It was waiting. I didn't leave the cabin that day. Something in me knew I couldn't. The storm had come back overnight, snow piling against the windows, burying the car halfway up the tires. It was quiet again, but not empty. You can tell when a place is watching you when it's listening. I sat by the window for hours, waiting for something to move outside, but all I saw was white and my own reflection in the glass. Except, sometimes, it blinked before I did. By noon, I started hearing knocks from the basement. Soft, irregular, like someone tapping to get attention. I'd never been down there before. The stairs were old, half rotten from moisture. Still, I needed to know. The air grew colder as I descended, each step groaning under the weight of the years. At the bottom, I found the generator, silent, covered in frost, and beside it, a door I hadn't seen before, metal, bolted shut from the outside. I brushed away the dust and saw something scratched into the surface. The same circle with a line through it, the same mark carved into my floor upstairs. My hand trembled as I traced it, and the metal felt warm, like something behind it was breathing. I leaned closer, trying to listen, and that's when I heard it, a voice faint, echoing through the metal. "Let me out." I froze, the air burning cold in my chest. It wasn't a stranger's voice. It was mine. I stepped back fast, tripped over the last stair, hit the floor hard. For a second, everything went dark. When I opened my eyes, the door was slightly open, just enough to see a thin line of black beyond it. And then a hand reached through, pale, wet, the same scar on the knuckle as mine. I scrambled up the stairs, slammed the basement door, and shoved the table in front of it. The knocking started again. Slow, steady, ticking with the rhythm of the clock upstairs. I backed away, breathing hard, staring at the door like it could burst open any second. Then silence again. I stood there for a long time, not moving, barely breathing. When I finally dared to look out the window, the storm had stopped. The snow was untouched, except for one thing, a single line of footprints leading from the woods, straight to my door, and next to them, a second set, identical in every way. The days blurred together. I couldn't tell if I was awake or dreaming. Every morning, I woke up. Same cabin, same snow, same silence. I tried leaving, driving down the highway, passing towns and forests. But every road curved back, every sign pointed me home. The cabana. It wasn't just a place, it was a direction.
A boy I couldn't fight.
Sometimes I would see him, the boy, my reflection, running through the trees, just ahead of me, just behind me. I couldn't distinguish. Was it memory? Or reality? Or something else? At night I would wake up and find the footprints in the snow, sometimes leading away from the cabin, sometimes circling it. Always two sets. I spoke to the camera, as if it could answer me, as if it understood the truth. "You're here again, aren't you?" I whispered. "Sometimes," I thought it answered, a soft echo of my own voice. Slightly delayed, slightly wrong. The townspeople noticed my presence more and more. Glances in the diner, strangers stopping in the street. I could feel them watching, but no one approached. I realized then I was never really alone. Not in the cabin, not in the woods, not even on the streets of Coldwater Ridge. The camera caught things I couldn't see. Shadows moving against the light, footsteps that didn't match mine, breathing when I was holding my own. I started talking to him, the boy, the reflection, myself. "Who are you?" I asked. Sometimes it answered, soft, childlike, sad. "You know, I tried to understand, tried to leave, tried to ignore it. But every time I woke up, the cabin was waiting, the snow covering the road behind me, and the footprints leading in again. I realized then, it didn't matter how far I went. The cabana, the snow, the boy, they were part of me, and I was part of them. Every night, the whispering became clearer. Not angry, just patient, repeating my name, guiding me, trapping me, and I couldn't stop running. Not physically, not mentally, through memory, through snow, through reflection, until I finally understood this isn't about escaping. It's about remembering, over and over, forever. I woke up that morning, and everything felt heavier. The snow, the silence, my own chest. I knew I had to go back, to the cabin, to see, to understand. The road was empty, fog thick enough to hide the trees, but I could feel the pull, guiding me, compelling me. When I reached the door, I noticed something different. The snow around the cabin, disturbed, as if someone had been moving inside. I opened the door slowly, camera ready, breath fogging the cold air. Inside, everything was familiar, but not like I remembered it. The walls were lined with photographs, my own face, from different ages, smiling, crying, running. I realized these weren't just photos, they were memories, fragments of a life I had forgotten, a life I thought was over. Then I saw the journal, leather-bound, faded, my handwriting, Childish, almost unreadable. I opened it. Pages filled with scrawled notes. I'm running. He's following me. Don't forget. Don't leave me again. I swallowed. The words were mine, from when I was 9. And then I remembered the frozen lake, the fog swallowing me whole, my parents searching, and the cabin waiting. Always waiting. The boy appeared then, in the corner of my eye, pale, silent, the same scar above the brow. You left me, he whispered. Yes, I said, voice cracking. You forgot? Memories flooded in, every step through snow, every hidden corner, every whispered warning I ignored. Time bent, the past and present merging. I saw myself, child and man, running together. You came back, he said, and now you'll remember. The cabin seemed to breathe, walls moving slightly, the photos shifting, alive with memory. You promised, the voice said. You promised you'd stay this time. I realized then, the cabin never chased. It waited, for those who forgot, for those who needed to remember, and I had forgotten too many times. The snow outside fell silently, and I understood. I was never meant to leave. I don't know how long I stood there. The boy, my reflection, the cabin, they were one. All of them, everything in me. The snow outside had stopped falling. The world was silent. Even the fog seemed to hold its breath. I felt the pull again, but this time, not to run, to stay. I realized then, this is what the cabin wanted. Not me, not anyone, just remembrance, obsession, attention, and I had given it everything. I walked toward the window. The curtain shifted slowly, not from wind, from someone inside. I lifted the camera, pressed record, not to capture it, to remember it. A shape appeared, familiar. The boy and me. I couldn't tell us apart. Every feature mirrored the other. Every movement, synchronized. I wanted to scream, to run, but my legs, my mind, didn't obey. I whispered. I remember. The boy smiled, or I did. The cabin shivered. Walls bending slightly, like pages turning. The photographs alive, each one replaying a memory I had buried. Every running step, every fall in snow, every whisper I ignored. Then silence. The cabin exhaled, and I understood. It doesn't chase, it waits, always. For the one who forgets, I turned to leave. But the snow outside stretched endlessly. No road, no forest, no town, just the cabin. And me, I smiled. Or the boy smiled, and I realized I will never leave.